voices say you need a friend. No matter the distance, I will always be there. No more inhibitions, I'll show you I care. You've been lost and alone in the city of lights, I know. Getting hot, feeling low, and it's out of your control. You should know that I won't leave you. I'll stay beside you. I'm never letting you go. You've been lost and alone in the city of lights, I know. But I will guide you home. But I will guide you home. But I will guide you home. Fight your battles, always by yourself. In the shadows, hear you cry for help. No matter the distance, I will always be there. No more inhibitions, I'll show you I care. You've been lost and alone in the city of lights, I know. I know. Getting hot, feeling low, and it's out of your control. You should know that I won't leave you. I'll stay beside you. I'm never letting you go. You've been lost and alone in the city of lights, I know. But I will guide you home. But I will guide you home. I will guide you home.
Here we are, we locked down in different cities, and our virtual connection falls apart. Guess it's been too many years since California. Now the memories of us is all I have. See, one day I'm gonna reach ya, take a plane for many miles. We pretend that time didn't pass us by when we're on Mulholland Drive. I know it won't be long before dawn, gotta be patient for a while. Someday we'll look at stars in this same sky when I'm on the other side. Take me back to the life that we once knew, when the walls weren't closing in like they are now. Cause it's been too many years since California. I wish I could get there, I don't know how. See, one day I'm gonna reach ya, take a plane for many miles. We pretend that time didn't pass us by when we're on Mulholland Drive. I know it won't be long before dawn, gotta be patient for a while. Someday we'll look at stars in the same sky when I'm on the other side. Oh.
Hello everybody, welcome into Talladega Superspeedway here on Ghost Racing Network. We are getting ready for some Tuesday Night Thunder, one of the, well, I'd say well-known weekly series that has kind of came about here. It's gained a lot of momentum, and here we are in race 8 of the season, slowly but surely getting closer to that championship race where there's going to be a ton of money on the line. Let's start tonight with your race info. You know what track we're at, but getting into more details pertaining to the weather, it is going to be 66 degrees outside, 65% humidity, partly cloudy skies, and winds are at 14 miles an hour. That could play a little bit of a factor here tonight. We are in the NASCAR Xfinity Series cars for 60 laps. There will be a stage break on lap 20. 100% fuel for these guys with unlimited tires if they want them. One faster pair and fixed setups as always. Track temp over 100 degrees, sitting at 105, and the track length is over 2.5 miles, 2.65 miles in fact, as the longest track in NASCAR, or one of them at least, nonetheless, and two of the super speedways in NASCAR. Here we go. Let's get down to your starting grid, where the pole sitter tonight isn't the man that you maybe were expecting. Tonight it is Kevin Fraze in the 25. Good to see him back out here, and he is always one of the fastest when he is out here. Steve Korsak for Dale Cup, one of the usual pole sitters, is going to start second to his outside. Jeff Merck third, Zachary Lima fourth. Sean Hill from McCall Motorsports fifth, with the final Dale Cup teammate in the field tonight, and that's Cody Nagels in sixth. Seventh, Matthew Baker. Eighth, John Ellis Jr. Ninth, Ron Morris Jr. 10th, his teammate David Sheets. Row 6 is going to be Danny Eshelman and Eddie Hawks. Moving back to 13th, it is going to be Michael Triscaro with Jason Maines to his outside. 15th, Christopher McCall. 16th, Jacob Emery. J.R. Miller, that's a Team PGR driver, in 17th. Yes, Brandon Broadfoot to his outside in 18th. Curtis Rogers, 19th. Danny Barnes, 20th. Row 11 is going to be Tony Cox and Dylan Jones. 23rd, Mike Davenport in the last car in the field tonight. For 24 cars is going to be Mark Vondell. That is another McCall Motorsports driver. Getting down now track side, where the pace car will be pulling off this time, and we will be going green here. Get another look at your pole sitter, Kevin Fraze. And I was actually thinking about getting a word with your pole sitter tonight. Unfortunately, though, Kevin is in a chat right now, so we're going to let him keep it down to business. But, I mean, obviously we know we're going to expect some great racing here tonight. We usually always get it. There's going to be some chaos. There's going to be some potentially hurt feelings. But each race that goes on, and we'll talk about this later when we pull up the schedule, is less and less races to this championship. And I believe the way the format is set up right now is you got to be inside the top 16 if you want a chance to go for that championship and all the money that's going to come with it. So we're going to see certain guys maybe starting to get a little bit more aggressive. And I think the coolest thing maybe about that championship is we see a lot of guys out here that are kind of working as one unit. The Dale Cup team, of course, one of those. These guys all split the money, but that's the way for, I'd say, a handful of teams out here. But with the championship towards the end of the season, you might see some guys not able to work with each other quite as nicely as they were up to this point, because they know they have to start fighting for their own championship hopes. And we are going to see how that pans out here tonight. Jeff Merck, he had another pretty good qualifying run tonight, as he has got himself up to fourth. We're not used to seeing Jeff with the greatest of qualifying runs, but he has figured something out, and we'll see how it works out for him. Here we go. The pace car has pulled off. Kevin Fraze, Jeff Merck, Steve Korsak, and the Dale Cup teammates behind him. Green flag is out at Talladega. Coming across the line, these guys are already bumper to bumper in the first two rows. Further back, everybody still hanging 2 by 2. That stage break on lap 20 has certainly caused some calamity throughout the season so far. We have seen guys getting a little bit too aggressive too early, but knowing that everybody does have a faster pair, don't look too long before we are going to see that third lane. Jason Maines, I see him in the red Toyota Supra, the Ryko car, pretty far back on the outside. Once he gets a run and gets up here, don't be surprised to see him and potentially Jacob Emery think about taking it to that third line. But everybody's staying pretty calm right now. It looks like one of the Team PGR drivers, that is going to be Michael Triscaro. He is riding up in the top lane, but up front, Steve Korsak has already found a way to drop down in front of Kevin Fraze. Kevin, probably, in my opinion, the most aggressive pusher that we're going to see out here tonight. Don't get me wrong, a lot of these guys are great at pushing, but Kevin just does something really different than these guys. If you have him on your back bumper, you better hold on, but he can get you to a win. Lap 1 is going to go to Steve Korsak. Zachary Lima still leading the outside line. He does have Cody Nagels behind him. John Ellis Jr., Matthew Baker are the two other cars sitting in that outside pack. Now Sean Hill's going to jump up top with Matthew Baker. Last time we were in the booth with Matthew Baker, he said he loves when Sean Hill's behind him because he knows how to push. Said he certainly can be aggressive at times, but this time we're going to see Matthew Baker behind Sean Hill. And are they thinking about 3 wide here? No, they're going to stay tucked in for now. As looking further back, I saw a little bit of congestion here. I think everybody's going to keep it together. Tony Cott's good to see him back out in the field tonight in the 72 Pepsi car. I know he was out last week, but he was checking in on the broadcast. Dylan Jones is back here. Usually when we see Dylan, we see Daniel Eberhardt. Not the case tonight, so Dylan's going to have to find a new wingman to work with tonight. Jason Maines has now fallen back. He is maybe going to just play it cautious here for a little bit. Maybe save some fuel. Maybe even think about flipping the strategy. We have seen that time and time again, but he rides next to Mark Vondell, one of the McCall Motorsports drivers. Here's Mike Davenport and Brandon Broadfoot. Let's give this guy a shout out. Has a league starting up. I believe it's going to be a $13 entry fee, and there will be top 5 payouts weekly, along with a championship fund, which I believe he has said he has already put $500 out of his own pocket into. So make sure you go check that out. The Thundering Herd Series that will be broadcasted here on Ghost Racing Network. Steve Korsak still leading the way. Zachary Lima still to his outside as we will be completing lap 3 this time, and it'll be 4 of 60. And it looks like Duck Duck Goose in the chat says, good evening. Good to see you out here, Duck Duck. We haven't seen you in a couple days. Glad you're back out here making it. We did see just before this, Brian Bassett, PB, who's in here a lot, did have a fundraising race, and that had a decent little turnout. I think there was 8 guys in there. They looked like they had a jolly old time. And good to see everybody out there doing it for a good cause. It looks like Baker's mom is rooting for her son, Baker, who is currently sitting back right now. 3 wide, Christopher McCall here trying to get around Michael Triscaro, and Triscaro's going to say, all right, let's make some progress. Christopher McCall doesn't like much of it, and he is going to drop down and leave that Blaster 34 car up top where he is going to need some help. The 94 does jump back high, but this is almost going to start early, that trend that, I'll tell you what, we saw this in the last race, that short race. Sean Hill and Matthew Baker are going to jump in front of the 94, and watch for this third line. Here we go. They are going to start making some progress. The bottom really has not organized as nicely as you would have thought. Looks like Jeff Merck is going to jump up from that third car in line to the middle. Zachary Lima maybe thinking about going low to help his teammate, but Kevin Fraze, such a good pusher. He's going to hold him out and do it by himself. They are already 3 wide here down the backstretch, only 5 laps in. Sean Hill gets a nose out in front. He is trying to get clear of Zachary Lima. Kevin Nagel's in here rooting for Dale Cup. And the 20 not quite going to be able to get clear of Steve Korsak. He did get clear, though, of Zachary Lima. As you see, he's dropped down now. Matthew Baker probably needed that cooler air. And now he's going to get it. We are seeing this top line really organized. Almost looks a little bit more organized than the middle for just a second there. If Zachary Lima goes high, can he pull Cody Nagels with him? We did see Cody up there running pretty high in the race that was just before this. And now the 20 gets clear of the bottom. Does he take it or does he stick in the middle? Sean Hill, one of those drivers that's a little more aggressive than he is about taking the safest route. A lot of guys you would see just jump to the bottom, but he knows the momentum seems to be a little bit more with this middle line. That's why he stays there right now. Matthew Baker up top, getting a big push from Christopher McCall. They can't quite get out in front just yet. And further back, we have seen some cars now drop off the pack. They don't want any part of what is going on right here. And going back to some of these cars that have dropped off the pack here, it looks like it is going to be Brandon Broadfoot, the last car in the pack, and then Eddie Hawks with him. Danny Barnes is that first car that's kind of hanging back, watching to see if these guys are going to potentially wreck and bring out a caution. Jacob Emery, sitting back. Dylan Jones, Mike Davenport, Jason Maines, and Mark Vondell all doing that exact same strategy. And you see that they're looking at the track map. That is what that little bit of separation from first to last is right now. But Sean Hill continues to ride that middle. Zachary Lima has got to be starting to get a little warm. He's probably hoping that 20 could clear lower up, but the longer they push, the less that 12 is going to help. And now he's going to jump up top, sure enough, for that reason. And Cody Nagels is going to be the lead pusher in the middle, but Zachary Lima has a huge push from Matthew Baker up top. They can't quite get clear into turn 3, but everybody kind of stalling out side by side. This is that chess match that we see go on at these races. The Xfinity cars, not quite as much momentum as some of the other series. I mean, we see when we're out here in the next gens, where they would not be side by side like this right now. We would see probably 2 cars pulling away from the field, everybody else trying to regroup. But the Xfinity and Truck Series, everybody just kind of hangs side by side. You'll see very slow momentum shifts like the one Zachary Lima's going to get into turn 1. He will take it, drops down to the middle, and now all the way to the bottom in front of his Dale Cup teammate. Corset qualified second. Here he is running still in second behind his teammate Kevin Frazier. Polsitter is back to third. It looks like Shirley is in here rooting on her son, Tony Cox, in the 72. Tony, one of those drivers that I believe is playing it safe right now. He is sitting back. He sees all this chaos and is saying, no, thank you. I don't want any part of it. Sure enough, there he is. Third car in line on that pack that is trailing behind the lead pack. But up front, these guys did not waste any time getting 3 wide. We are not even halfway through stage 1, much less anywhere close to halfway through this race. 60 laps in, of course, with that stage break being where it is, we've seen this now multiple weeks. This race would not come down to pit strategy if it were to play out that way, and because of that, that's what's making the racing so much more aggressive. These guys will all come in and take fuel either on lap 20, or we might have potentially see some of these guys try to go in a little bit earlier and try to flip that strategy almost. But everybody will be good after, once we go green, at least from lap 20, our first scheduled caution and the only scheduled caution to make it the rest of the way. By the way, I hope everybody is having a good time tonight and enjoying the broadcast. Please let me know if everything sounds and looks okay. Matthew Baker still up top. Boy, he has traded positions a couple times, been the pusher, been the leader, and he would really probably like to drop down a different lane. Christopher McCall, been a good pusher overall tonight for McCall Motorsports, but just hasn't quite been able to get enough momentum to get Matthew Baker clear. We did see Zachary Lima jump back up in front of Sean Hill. That opened the bottom back up to Steve Korsak and Kevin Fraze. David Sheets, another one of those McCall Motorsports driver. Him and Ron Morris Jr. are also hanging around up here. David 6th, Christopher McCall 7th, and Ron Morris Jr. 10th. Those are your 3 of your McCall Motorsports driver. The highest running one, though, is Sean Hill, who currently runs 3rd up 2 spots from where he started. And looks like Kevin Nagel says, looks great. All right, thank you. Appreciate it. They're still 3 wide. You see the 6, though. Cody Nagel's backed off just a little bit. He might have been cooling his temps for just a second. The bad part about it here is both lanes are going to get cleared for a second. In fact, Sean Hill not actually quite going to be able to take it. Now he's thinking about dropping low. He's got to be careful. He doesn't want to get split 4 wide. So exactly, Lima maybe cuts him a little break. Matthew Baker shoved him right out of the way. The field looking pretty calm right now. I think the most moves that we've really seen has been here at the front, the first 2 rows. Everybody else has kind of stayed nice and patient. So far, it really hasn't had that aggressive feel where you think they're not going to make it. Right now, everybody seems very calm. The cars seem to be handling pretty well. We noted the track temp earlier and the winds, which were gusting at 14 miles an hour. Thought maybe that would affect some of these guys, but doesn't seem to be. Everybody handling pretty good. In fact, let's take a ride on board with one of the guys that's got to be handling the best, and that is Sean Hill, who is currently leading that middle line. We're in full throttle now. How about Kevin Fraze? A little bit of a different angle here. He is pushing Steve Korsak, and look how smooth the wheel is for the 25 car. Doesn't really do too much pushing in the corner. We usually say that's a recipe for disaster, but I feel like the more races we've broadcasted here on Ghost, the more we've seen these guys almost keep getting better and better each time they race. They learn, they evolve, and they have started getting to the point where they can push in the corner if they really want to, as long as they can square it up perfectly. Moving back in the field here. Here's a ride on board with John Ellis Jr., who is in the middle of the Hornet's Nest. Currently sitting in 9th, down 1 spot from where he started, but even if he wanted to go forwards and backwards, there's just not really anywhere he can go right now. Take a look now from the blimp cam. You still see, you still see 3x3, but that second pack is fading back a little bit more now than you'd think is comfort. I mean, you see this last car in line, just looking at it, is Mark Vondel. The gap between him and the leader is over 2 seconds. That is technically out of draft distance. However, he does have a bunch of cars still up there, or just in front of him, that do have the draft. These guys got to be careful. Tony Cox, Danny Eshelman, if they link up, they will be able to catch this draft as long as they keep within a second and a half of it up front. The 2 top lanes now start to prevail. Sean Hill has taken back the lead in the middle. Ooh, further back, looks like Ron Morris Jr. got a little out of shape, had to drop down to the apron. He holds on to it, brings it back on track out of 4. And Eddie Hawks, his teammate, is going to cut him a break, pick him up, and make sure those 2 can stay up and get back in the fight. Curtis Rogers, Brandon Broadfoot, and Danny Barnes, some other drivers. Danny Barnes, we saw him get his first win about a week ago, maybe a little less, but that has gave this guy a ton of confidence and a big confidence boost overall. I mean, he has been up here racing with these guys a lot harder than what we were used to seeing, and the finishes are starting to show for Danny Barnes. If he can keep up this momentum, it will not be too long before he will have guys back and forth asking him to join their team. We are 14 of the 60 through here at Talladega Superspeedway. You are watching Tuesday Night Thunder for Ron Morris Racing. Ooh, the 94 got a little wiggly there. Jeff Merck maybe thought twice about getting any closer there. The bottom still seems to be the preferred lane, but the momentum continues to shift. It'll go the top two and then the bottom back to the top two. Right now, though, Steve Korosek leading through the trial. Well, now Zachary Lima jumps back up to the top. Sean Hill's not going to be able to fend off this move. He's going to have to wait for help from Cody Nagels. And with the way everybody has kind of been jockeying for position so far tonight, it seems like if you are not in the first two, maybe three rows, your only way to go forward is going to be creating another lane. We have seen four wide before, and you can see this track is big enough to do it, but we have not seen it yet tonight, and I think it might stay like that, at least until we finish stage one. Sean Hill has gotten Lima clear. He'd like to get himself clear as well, but Lima is continuing to hang in that middle line. He does not want Sean Hill getting clear to drop down in front of his teammate. And now Steve Korosek, Kevin Frey starting to make a comeback. Matthew Baker, he is going to lose all his help from Christopher McCall, who jumps back in line, and the third lane is going to vanish just like that. And I don't think they're going to sit double file for the next 4 laps here before the end of stage one, 5 laps, excuse me. But Christopher McCall maybe was jumping back in line so he could cool down for a lap or two before he makes another run at it. We do see 2 of the Team PGR drivers, that is J.R. Miller and Michael Triscaro, lined up. Wouldn't be surprised to see them go 3 wide, but Cody Nagels beats him to the punch. He jumps up top with help from John Ellis Jr., Zachary Lima, Sean Hill, and Sean Hill's teammate Christopher McCall in the middle. The bottom is still Steve Korosek, Kevin Fraze, and David Sheets up the third on that inside. He's having a good run, up 6 spots from where he started. Ooh, that third lane got left out. Sean Hill hanging the bottom. Christopher McCall also still hanging in that middle. And now Sean Hill jumps up top. Christopher McCall, so they actually ditch Cody Nagels. And that's a pretty impressive move from a couple of teammates. Steve Korosek's going to jump up to that middle line. The momentum is really starting to swing, but those Dale Cup teammates showing the commitment to each other here. And the way it all ends up working out, what looked like was going to be a big run and opportunity for 2 McCall Motorsports drivers is probably going to send them to the back because of the teamwork of the Dale Cup drivers. But up front now, all this moving around of position has given away the bottom. Wide open now to Kevin Fraze and David Sheets. Steve Korosek going to slam the door on the 25. Kevin Fraze going to give him a little shot to let him know he had a run. But up top, Ron Morris Jr. has also jumped up. If they can get up to Sean Hill, you know he is thinking about 3 wide. The question is, who else? Team PGR has a couple of their guys waiting to go. Cody Nagels, he's got his teammate in front of him. You got to think maybe he doesn't go here and just sits in line. It is now 3 laps away from the end of stage 1. Danny Barnes still running in the back of this pack, and Matthew Baker, Jeff Merck, they gave their shot at it, didn't work out, and maybe they're sitting back. Maybe they're going to make one more run at it. We'll have to find out. Danny Esselman, currently 18th, Tony Cox 19th, Dylan Jones 20th, 21st, Jason Maines 22nd, Mark Vondell 23rd, Mike Davenport, and 24th, Jacob Emery. And those drivers that we just read off positions are all the drivers that, as the way if they stay where they are, it doesn't look like they want any racing for the rest of the stage. They just want to stay where they're at, but they might end up pitting. That's the thing that we're going to be watching for here. We'll keep the track map up for these next couple laps as well as watch the pit cams. But if you're going to pit, I think you do it on lap 20. But just as I say that, here we go. Jason Maines, he is going to try a little bit of strategy play. Oh, and it looks like he's going to overshoot it a little bit. Mark Vondell to 5 spins on pit road. And this is going to hurt Jason Maines here. He may be in danger of going a lap down now. And he may have to abandon ship here and just drive this thing around pit road. But if he has a penalty, this is really going to cost him. We'll look at it after. I think he may have gotten tagged. I'm not sure. But up front, Steve Korosek still leading Zachary Lima. Cody Nagels is blinking right now. That's probably scaring a little bit of the rest of the field. Down the backstretch, though, here, next lap will be the white flag lap. 2 Team PGR drivers up top. Cody Nagels really struggling right now with the blinking issues. This is where things get a little worrisome. And you see this outside line really starting to fade right here. Nobody knows where he is. They can't push. And the inside is pulling away. Steve Korosek and Kevin Fraze further back. We're going to see some more pit stops here. Can these guys all get in clean? Sure enough, they do. Matthew Baker, Jeff Merck, Dylan Jones, and Danny Esselman all in that group that pitted right there. White flag is out for stage 1. David Sheets jumps to the top. Zachary Lima is going to be his help if he can get there. It's Steve Korosek. Kevin Fraze still on the bottom. Brandon Broadfoot. And you got to think Zachary Lima isn't thinking about jumping to that third lane just yet because he's got to push before he can think about making a move in order for them to get back up there. Cody Nagels' internet really looks like it's struggling right now. I have not seen him blink this much in a while. Team PGR is still trying to make it work up top, but it doesn't look like they're going to have enough time to get up there. Does Kevin Fraze make a move? And if he does, where does he make it at? Brandon Broadfoot probably not going to be able to tuck out a line to give him help. Can David Sheets maybe give him a little push? Here we go into the tri-oval. Steve Korosek still leading Kevin Fraze second. We do see some more pit stops further back, but it looks like at the line, Steve Korosek wins stage 1. And we did go to pit road as caution is out so that we could see some of these pit stops. You see all these guys making their way down here. Now we'll see who wins the race out and whether or not Jason Maines did go a lap down. That's what we're waiting to see here. It looks like he is currently in the pits. We'll have to see. Baker's mom says, hope everyone is having a good evening. I hate that I missed the benefit race. Well, it was not actually broadcasted tonight. It was just those guys going out there having a good time anyway. So I guess you could say you did not miss anything for that one, but glad to see that you guys are out there supporting it. It looks like John Ellis Jr., one of the drivers on pit road. You see some of these guys coming back around, getting ready to pit. So let's go up front here to your stage winner, Steve Korosek. And I know I said stage 1, but it is the only stage. Now it will be a green flag sprint the rest of the way. That was a lot of really aggressive, clean racing, which is the best mix that you could possibly ask for, and that is what we love to see. Hopefully we will see that for the next, what's going to be under 40 laps to go once we go green. But first, they're going to catch the pace car. As they do this, we are going to go Ghost Racing Network side by side. When we come back, we will have your stage winner for an interview. Stick with us. And we are back live at Talladega Superspeedway. Pit stops underway. In fact, you're taking a look right now at Steve Korosek, who has taken tires and fuel and getting ready to leave his box. And we're going to see if we can dial him up here for a quick interview. Steve, this is all set up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, I got you.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dale Cup looked really strong on that first run. It looks like you guys are going to be hard to beat. But we saw some people trying to get a third lane going, trying to get you guys split up. How are you going to be able to stay together for the rest of this thing?
I'm just going to keep doing what we're doing. Try and stay up at the front. Looks like we're going to be buried a little bit here. So hopefully we get back up there. Do the same thing.
And I mean, I guess might sound like a silly question because you just kind of said you're going to get back up there. But I was going to say, if these guys get 3 wide and stuff before you guys have a chance to do it, do you just go for it and try to make a 4th lane? Or do you maybe creep back for a little bit, see what happens?
I can't say for certain. I guess you're just going to have to sit back and watch.
All right, well, that's the answer I like to hear. We will be watching. Good luck, and hopefully you can get that 27 car in victory lane. And that was Steve Korosek. We appreciate him giving us an interview as you're taking a look at his in-car camera right here under caution, but look at his steering offset. He's got that thing pretty far set to the left. A little different than what we see some drivers. Compare that, I mean, to Danny Escherman. You see his offset is the same as what Steve's was on the straightaway, but Danny, of course, is in turn right now. And it looks like Danny is going to be the car that will be leading us to green this time. And Ron Morris Jr. is taking a look. Looks like he is doing race control right now. Looking at your top 5, it's going to be Danny Escherman, Matthew Baker 2nd, Jeff Merck 3rd, Sean Hill 4th, and Zachary Lima 5th. You did hear the Dale Cup driver of Steve Korosek say that they were going to have a little bit of work. They were a little bit of a digging to do here, but I think they'll be able to get that in no time. I mean, if you're anywhere in the top 10, you usually have a good chance of being the first car to get that third lane rather working. So we should be getting the 1 to go signal this time, I would have to think. And as they do that, give you a reminder, go to the actual reminder page here of what the Tuesday Night Thunder Series is. I don't know if you can see it there. I know it might be a little small, but we are in race 8 of the season as it is March 28th. So we are at Talladega. We will be at Talladega most likely for the rest of the season due to netcode issues, but looks like April 19th is going to be the championship race. Don't miss out on it. There's going to be a lot of money on the line. And of course, there was weekly payouts, so tonight there will be a top 5 payout. Right now, the last finishing money position would be Zachary Lima, who is in 5th. Pace car will be pulling off this time. The field getting ready to go. Matthew Baker, one of those drivers that tried to flip the track position. And Jeff Merck, I bet they would feel a little bit more comfortable if they were lined up, but while they're not direct teammates, Matthew Baker and Sean Hill work pretty good together. I don't think they're going to try to split. I think they will stay together and hold off the Dale Cup trio as long as they can. Steve Korsak does have Kevin Fraze. We've seen those two staying with each other most of the night. Kevin did not make a move during the end of that last stage as I thought he might. And because of that, I don't look to see him make a move now. I don't think he would stick behind Steve if it was the end of the race. But certainly there for a stage, not really much on the line. No point in doing anything extra aggressive that you could potentially get yourself in any trouble with. Let's take a look at some of what is currently the back markers. Not actual back markers, but just sitting back here right now. Jason Maines, unfortunately, is still trapped a lap down. He is going to need a caution to get himself back on the lead lap, but we have seen that man come back from a lot worse. Christopher McCall in 23rd. John Ellis Jr., one of the guys working with Jason Maines in 22nd. Eddie Hawks 21st. Jacob Emery 20th. Mark Vondell 19th. Danny Barnes 18th. Dylan Jones 17th. Michael Triscaro 16th. Ron Morse Jr. 14th. J.R. Miller 13th. Tony Cox almost up inside the top 10, but he is up 9 from where he started in 12th. Brandon Broadfoot 11th. And that is everybody that is outside of your top 10. So let's go back up front where the pace car is getting ready to pull off. And we are getting ready to see the green flag fly for the second time here tonight in the Tuesday Night Thunder Series. We're going to ride on board for this one from the blimp cam as we will see if the field has that stack up effect. But here we go. Green flag is back out. And you see the front two kind of get on each other's bumper. It looks like everybody was pretty conservative farther back on this restart. And nobody really had to worry about getting on the brakes. Check it out. Matthew Baker's trying to get clear of Danny Esselman before they get to turn 1. He's not quite going to be able to pull it off. And now he is going to await help from Sean Hill. They are already stacking up. Watch for a big run from the 5 car on the outside down the backstretch. But Danny Esselman does lead him off turn 2. Steve Korsak jumps to the top. Kevin Fraze looking like he's going to go with him. Sure enough, he does. Wasting no time here getting that third lane going now. Cody Nagels and Zachary Lima have also managed to get up into the middle. They will be jumped to the outside line here momentarily. And sure enough, he's going to get behind Kevin Fraze in the 25. I thought maybe they would think about shuffling Kevin out. I think Lima quickly realized Kevin is a heck of a pusher, and that's going to help them in the long run if they stay behind him. Sean Hill's doing everything he can for Matthew Baker, but it's just not going to probably be enough here to hold him up front if they continue to only have 2 cars. Baker is trying to side draft that top line. Now Steve Korsak is going to get clear if he wants to drop to the bottom. Matthew Baker, Sean Hill are both clear of the bottom, and Steve Korsak may have to throw a block right here. They're still riding in line. Baker, when will he drop to the bottom? He continues to hold the middle. Kevin Fraze up top with help from Zachary Lima, and it is a 6-car mini breakaway right here as Cody Nagels still appears to be blinking a little bit. Matthew Baker just pushing right now, not thinking about making any moves just yet, and Sean Hill, he would not have any help if he wanted to just yet. Now Jeff Merck is going to drop to the middle, and the bottom has kind of faded out of existence here in the first couple laps. You see nobody's really lined up down there. Just as I say that, we are going to see a couple cars. Looks like Jeff Merck and Michael Triscaro jump to the bottom to try to get something going. Ron Morse Jr., J.R. Miller in the middle. Danny Eshelman, who was leading this thing back to green, is probably wondering what the heck just happened right now. It is a 2 versus 3 versus 2. 2 on the bottom, 3 in the middle, and 2 up top. Matthew Baker, though, is no longer clear of his teammate tonight, Jeff Merck. If those two get linked up, they might be one of the duos that has something to stick to these Dale Cup guys. Cody Nagels has fallen back a little bit. I don't know if he chose to drop back or if he was told to drop back. I'm thinking maybe he chose to. And to see if that blinking is going to resolve, he will just ride around. It might be the safest option because so far the racing has been so clean, and hopefully it stays that way, but it seems like we always see at least one big wreck at these super speedways, at least by the end of this thing. And as we are approaching the halfway mark here tonight, let's do a little Talladega Crank It Up. Here we go. And that is going to do it for tonight's segment of Crank It Up. I hope everybody did enjoy. Up front, there's still 3x3. Kevin Frase leading the top, Steve Korsak in the middle, and Jeff Merck on the bottom. And this is probably the most majestic racing that we have seen in a while here in the Tuesday Night Thunder Series. Not a lot of movement going on right now. Matthew Baker continuing to push the 27, trying to get him clear. Sean Hill sticks third on the middle. Michael Triscaro looking a little wobbly here. He's got to be careful. All it's going to take is a little bit of contact when guys are running this tight, and that could cause the big pileup that we are waiting to see. Matthew Baker is going to jump up to the high side now. He's going to get a push from Kevin Frase. Steve Korsak in the middle now with Sean Hill. Jeff Merck still leading the bottom, looking further back. Jason Maines, who is still a lap down, just is making sure he is staying the heck out of a wreck if it happens here. He knows he could go get it back the hard way, but there's really no point in doing that right now. Being the only car a lap down, just making his job harder. He sits back here and rides with Cody Nagels and Tony Cox. Tony playing the safer strategy. Tony has tried the aggressive strategy most weeks and has gotten caught up in a wreck, not of his doing, just about every time. So he says, hey, I'm going to try something different, and we will see if it works out. Jacob Emery currently just inside the top 20. Mike Davenport up 4 spots in 19th. Curtis Rogers, Danny Barnes, these are all guys that are hanging around here towards the back before it gets to that 3-wide chaos that we are seeing, being led by Matthew Baker on the top, Steve Korsak still on the bottom. And there are certain drivers that you kind of know they're just never going to be content to really ride in line, and we are seeing that from some of them right now. Matthew Baker and Steve Korsak, probably two of the biggest ones in that game right now. Ooh, Steve washed up just a little bit high there. Kevin Frase had a close moment of getting into the door of that 27. On the bottom, the 60, Jeff Merck, no longer the leader. He is pushing Danny Eshelman in the 6. Those top two lines just continue to push so hard at the bottom. Just not able to hang with them as much. We see the bottom surge, and now we're going to see a surge as Steve Korsak jumps to the bottom. Matthew Baker waiting on a push, and the more these guys do this, the more chances there are going to be for that wreck. As you saw the 5 get a little wobbly there as the 20 got to him towards the exit of the corner. But still 3x3. Usually guys will try to set up that move as soon as they get clear and they know they have a little bit of window. And I guess the best way to say this would be, you see where Sean Hill in the 20 is running right now. Let's say he were to get clear of the bottom line. Both of them get clear. That's when he drops down as soon as he gets clear, because he will have a push from the 27. And also there will be that window where the 5 of Matthew Baker would not be getting any help and would fall back. That's where you try to get clear, try to make the pass. If you can complete it, it's a great move and it works. It gets you a bunch of spots. If you don't complete it, you might be going towards the back. We are now officially over halfway through. A little contact. Sean Hill blew up. That's sure enough what happened, and he is going to wreck back here. Gets, the 20, Jacob Emery, nowhere to go. A bunch of guys in this one. Curtis Rogers just about everybody that was hanging in the back to be safe is not going to be able to be safe, and avoiding this one. 72 of Tony Cox get in it. It looks like he's fine. I believe Jacob Emery, Mike Davenport, he does have some damage. And at first, I thought he was getting out of it, but you actually had saw the puff of smoke. So sure enough, Sean Hill blows the engine up on the 20 car, and he had to tow that thing immediately. He does have a fast pair, but maybe in danger of potentially losing a lap here from it. Let's watch this from where it starts. And this is sometimes a result of hard pushing. Usually we don't see it as an issue. I mean, you see the smoke's already there. He did a good job initially. It looked like of getting out of the way here. Everybody's somehow able to avoid him. And boom, there it goes. You see the backfire out of the pipes. Ron Morris Jr. is going to get into him. He's not quite able to avoid. 4 wide, Ron Morris Jr. kind of gets into him. Brandon Broadfoot from behind, and then it's on from here. Jacob Emery nowhere to go. T-bones him. Curtis Rogers hard into the back. There's Mike Davenport. Cody Nagle's getting slowed up. The 06 of David Sheets. Taking a couple different views of this. Let's ride on board on the cockpit here with Sean Hill. I mean, sometimes tell you what, it's so difficult too, right? As a driver, these guys pretty much know in general what temps they can go to. And a lot of times they try to push it and they're just thinking to themselves, all right, I'll just go a little bit longer and then I'll back off. And Sean Hill went just a little bit too long right here. Watch this. And I'm not sure if he lost power and then backed off or if he tried to back off and it still lost it anyway, as those temps just could not quite get cooled down in time. It's unfortunate the game doesn't show us the gauges, but that is what brings out your first wreck of the night. Take one more or two more looks at it here. First one is from Jacob Emery's view here, as he just had nowhere to go once this thing got started. See, he sees it happening. He's going to try to sneak by here. He has to miss the 55 and then just takes a big hit there. Was not able to get checked up in time. Oh my goodness, the 72 of Tony Cox. Boy, how did he sneak around this? We actually got a ride on board with him. Boy, that one looked really, really close. I don't know just how close it was, but we're going to find out right here. This is on board from Tony Cox's nose. Wow, that was pretty close. He had to go down to miss all of them. Good news for some of these drivers. Jason Maines, you see he was able to get checked up. He should be getting the lucky dog here. This will almost certainly put a couple more guys a lap down. Anyway, though, up front, Steve Korsak is your current leader. Kevin Frase second. Danny Eshelman third. Zachary Lima fourth. John Ellis Jr. rounding up the top 5. But let's go all the way up to your top 10. Dylan Jones is up 16 spots from where he started in 6th. Danny Barnes up 13 spots in 7th. Cody Nagle's 8th. Christopher McCall 9th. And his teammate Eddie Hawks rounding out the top 10. Matthew Baker hanging just outside the top 10, but I'm sure it will not be long before he is back up there. And I was going to see if we could maybe find Matthew Baker here to get a word with them. And I'll tell you what, that is what we're going to do here. And we're going to go get him, and I will be right back. And dial him up here real quick. Matthew Baker, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, what's up, man?
Well, I mean, one of your good pushers there, I guess I would say the guy that seemed like you're working best with tonight besides Jeff Merck, Sean Hill, blew it up trying to push. First of all, I mean, what happened there? It seems like it's so hard as a driver. Once in a while, you're trying to push. You think maybe you have that extra degree, and all of a sudden you don't.
Yeah, I don't know. The last time these things blew up, it blinked about twice and it blew up. So I think that's what happened to Sean. He said he was 281 on oil, but I mean, that's close enough to the threshold. And I was trying to give him as much air as I could on the left side. I know he's running hot, but Kevin was so tight down on his right side that I don't think he could get that air to the oil cooler, and it just blew it up.
Well, looks like you are also going to have some work ahead of you now as well. But I mean, Sean Hill, he will be back out. We know he's got a faster pair. Jeff Merck going to be kind of hanging around the general area of you as well. Is the plan for all three of you guys to link together and go to the front? Or do you maybe hang around the back and see if there's another caution?
I think we take advantage of these tires. So this is the first time that I'd say tires matter. The wind's blowing like north at 14 miles an hour, so it's really been an issue when the tires get a little heat into them. So try and get as many positions as we can here with these fresh tires and get around these guys.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for talking to us, and good luck.
Thanks, man.
And that was Matthew Baker, who is currently going to be sitting just outside the top 10, like we said, in 11th. But you heard him just talk about what we noted at the beginning of the broadcast. And in fact, we will pull it back up for you there on the side. Take a look at your weather. Winds at 14 miles an hour. Earlier, I believe they were at 16 miles an hour. Not sure if they're necessarily varying, but that's it has been at 14 all night, excuse me. But I mean, 14 miles an hour, when you are going this fast, it makes a pretty big difference. And you heard Baker say it's enough of a difference to where new tires are something that you can actually take advantage of. And that is certainly what he is going to try right here. It looks like Steve Korsak has chosen the top line so that lines him up with his Dale Cup teammate Zachary Lima. And it looks like Cody Nagels is going to be not too far back. And we talk about it usually, but we haven't given it a shout out in a little while. Let's look at the Dale Cup drivers' helmets here real quick. And there is Steve Korsak's. I'm hoping you guys can see that on the broadcast. He's got the angry face. Go back here to Zachary Lima, and he does have, believe that, it looks like Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. And then Cody Nagels is going to have one as well. I can't tell exactly what Cody's is from here. But those guys make some pretty cool helmets. Always something. It's a little bit fun out here in the Tuesday Night Thunder Series. Kevin Fraze looking a little bit more serious here, starting on the inside. He's going to have Danny Eshelman, John Ellis Jr. We are now starting to get within that area. 25 to go, and it's going to be 24 once we go green right here. People are going to start all of a sudden getting really, really aggressive. It is not going to take more than a couple laps, if even that long, to see a third line. But I want everybody to watch Matthew Baker here. He is going to be sitting on the bottom. I think he is going to be one of those drivers. He does have Jeff Merck, his teammate, behind him, and Sean Hill, who we saw involved in that last incident, is going to be 2 laps down. So I thought maybe they'd work together, but actually Sean Hill's best strategy right here is it looks like he is the only car lap down. It's going to be maybe to stay back, hope they wreck a couple times, get himself back on the lead lap before he gets back into it. Here we go. The pace car pulls off. Kevin Fraze, Steve Korsak, row 1. Lima and Eshelman, row 2. And John Ellis Jr. and Dylan Jones making up row 3 into the Geico restart zone for the 3rd time tonight. Green flag is back out. Pretty even restart here, but it looks like Zachary Lima has found the back bumper of Steve Korsak before Danny Eshelman can get linked up with Kevin Fraze. That should work well for this outside. And now we only see 2 up top versus 3 on the bottom. The backstretch, the first lap, is your best time to do it. Boy, Cody Nagels is still blinking. His internet is not helping him out too much tonight. If that continues, he will probably end up having to fall to the back again. But he is going to try to stay up here for now. Looks like we do have a couple guys sitting back. Brandon Broadfoot is hanging way back. He may have had to use his fast spare. In fact, I believe he did. That is part of the reason he is going to stay extra cautious right now. I think these guys would maybe do themselves some good trying to tick off a couple laps, but you see how long this top lane's getting. That is going to get a lot shorter here once we see guys go 3 wide. Looking to see Matthew Baker potentially be the first one to do it. Jeff Merck, here we go. He's going to jump high. Ron Morse Jr. goes low. They get a draft off Eddie Hawks. To the 3rd lane goes Matthew Baker and Jeff Merck. Jason Maines now working the middle. He is back on the lead lap, and he is ready to make some noise in that 5 car. Slides right up in front in the sandwich of 2 Team PGR cars, and he is probably looking to get up to that 3rd lane with Matthew Baker and Jeff Merck, but J.R. Miller, he is also thinking about taking it up top. And there we go, the 78 jumps up top. Looks like Eddie Hawks as well, and just as quick as the restart has happened, it is already back to 3x3, and I was not kidding when I said it would only take a couple laps. Up front, they are side by side. Jason Maines in that 5 machine, continuing to pick up positions here. He is now on the bottom. Christopher McCall to the middle behind Dylan Jones. Danny Barnes hanging in that 4th spot on the bottom. There goes Jason Maines now up to the middle. He would like to get up to the top. And at this point, we are seeing this field get closer and closer together. Guys aren't quite hanging back as far as they were earlier. Some of the guys that were hanging back are up here now. Jeff Merck's going to get a little side draft down the back. Watch for a big run from the top line here. Matthew Baker, if he gets Jeff Merck clear, you got to think Merck is thinking about dropping low. But it looks like the run is still sticking with the middle and bottom. Danny Eshelman is doing a heck of a job pushing. Let's ride on board here actually with Danny. Take a look at just how hard he's going to have to push her on the bottom to keep him out in front. See, he kind of gets off of him there in the turn. The good thing about being on the inside, you really don't have to push in the turn. You just got to stay kind of close, and that air will do the pushing for you. Once you get on the straightaway, though, you are going to have to start to do a little bit of pushing, which we've seen Danny Eshelman doing. He gets a little bit wiggly in the tri-oval, and that is the hardest part of the track. You do not want to push there. The cars are already unstable. There's bumps on the bottom groove, and if you try to push, you're potentially asking for a guy to get wrecked. Boy, these guys continue to lean on each other, though. As each lap goes by, they will continue to side draft each other harder and harder. The goal is pretty much to pin down that lane below you in the corner and then go as high as you can on the straightaway, and we are seeing that now. And it's making the bottom fade a little bit. Danny Eshelman, Kevin Fraze both maybe just bumped the apron, and that is going to cost them a little bit of speed here off the corner. Let's go further back here in the field. Sean Hill continues just to ride around in the back. No point being too aggressive. Cody Nagels has decided to fall back due to the internet issues right now as well. Jacob Emery, he already used a fast repair. He sits back with Mark Vondel. I was trying to look if Mark had used his fast repair. I couldn't tell initially from that angle. And it looks like he's got a little damage on the right front, so not sure if he did or not. Curtis Rogers in the 65. Up in the third lane, Tony Cox on the bottom. And looking right now saying, man, where do I go? Oh, we got a couple spun around here. Is this one going to collect a bunch? They are off track, so it's not going to draw a caution. Big hit, though, for the 94. Christopher McCall. It looked like Danny Barnes was in this as well. They do get back going, but Christopher McCall took a pretty big shot. Let's see what happened here. Is it going to be a little check up? Oh my goodness. Huge netcode from somebody. Cannot tell who that was, but there's the big hit for Christopher McCall and Danny Barnes. Hold on just a second. This was huge netcode off somebody. Could not tell exactly who this was. Let's take a look from the chopper view. Watch this 94. It is just going to go shooting to the right. Oh, that's Eddie Hawks that's going to be the netcode off of. And, I mean, you see Eddie comes down but never makes contact, and that absolutely slams the 94 into the 3. They go for a pretty long slide that's going to end with both of those cars in the wall and potentially junk. Christopher McCall definitely got the worst of it. Let's go back live up front. Still no caution. These guys have kept it clean up front. Steve Korosek leading Kevin Fraze. Zachary Lima in third with Dylan Jones pushing. And it is going to be Jeff Merck up top with Matthew Baker's teammate. That wreck did take out a couple of cars, but doesn't seem to have shooken the confidence of any of these drivers up front. They are still continuing to go side by side. You hate that netcode, especially from one of your teammates. Nothing Eddie did wrong there. Nothing Chris did wrong. Nothing Danny Barnes did wrong. They were all having great runs, but that is unfortunately the downside sometimes in iRacing. Oh, Steve Korosek jumps up to the top. It looked like a couple guys got a little wiggly. This might all be that 14-mile-an-hour wind playing in. Oh, man, these guys really getting sideways. Got to be careful right here. We went almost 4 wide. We got one on the apron. That's Mike Davenport. Now Dylan Jones is going to drop down. Ron Morse Jr. tags the wall. Still hanging side by side, but all that shuffling is going to put a new leader for the first time today. Dylan Jones is leading at Talladega. Danny Eshelman is going to have to fall off. Man, this wind looks like it is really causing these guys some handling issues. Danny Eshelman down into the travel, but I mean, look at the bottling going on. These guys look like they're all a bunch of snakes, just going back and forth. Jeff Merck does drop to the middle line. He might be thinking about jumping to the bottom. And I'm not sure if you really have a preferred lane right now. I don't think you'd want to necessarily be in the middle if your car's not handling, because then you got cars on both sides of you that you got to worry about hitting. As Michael Triscaro almost got down into the door there of John Ellis Jr. Jason Maines is up to that 3rd spot on the bottom. Dylan Jones up 17 from where he started, no longer the leader. But Jason Maines is currently up 10 spots from where he started. Ooh, the 45, Eddie Hawks, his teammate maybe gave him a little shot in the corner. Now we see Jason Maines trying to get on the door of Jeff Merck. The 25, Kevin Fraze, he is ready to start fighting for the lead here with 17 to go. He jumps up top in front of Jeff Merck as they cross the line. That time, Kevin Fraze is going to lead it. And what has been one of the best pushers all night is ready to be one of the best leaders. Jeff Merck gave him a huge shot. It was almost enough to get clear, but couldn't quite pull it off. The pack has split up a little bit again here, and I think some of these guys are starting to get a little bit nervous. Tony Cox, one of those drivers back here with Danny Eshelman, Brandon Broadfoot, Jacob Emery. They're hanging back, and I think I might be in that same boat right now because they are just not looking too stable up front. They have double filed back out. It is 2x2 throughout the whole field, but Zachary Lima and Matthew Baker now jumping back up to that 3rd line. Closing in slowly but surely on the end of this race. It is going to be 15 laps to go at the line this time. Only 1 caution so far here tonight, and it was, well, actually 2 cautions. 1 for the stage break, 1 non-scheduled caution, which was for an incident involving Sean Hill when his engine did blow up. Sean Hill is running back here with Cody Nagels. I'm not sure They must have fallen back here. And yeah, I mean, you see these two are just now coming out of turn 2. They are going to need a caution. Christopher McCall is getting ready to get lapped here, it looks like. And sure enough, there goes the pack. He may have to pit to fix this damage, assuming he does still have a fast pair. Danny Barnes is getting ready to get lapped as well. He is currently working his way out of turn 4 and getting ready to move into the tribal. Field's coming up quick. Jeff Merck back to the top line. Zachary Lima leads the middle. Steve Korosek down low. Dylan Jones third in the middle. And Jeff Merck's not going to get a run here. Dylan Jones, if he gets clear, does he take it? Kevin Fraze, this is his shot to jump back up to the top. If he takes it, Jeff Merck pulls a side draft on the 23. 14 laps to go. These guys are getting crazy right now. Mike Davenport and his 2 Team PGR teammates, Michael Triscaro, JR Miller, can they line up and make something happen? We are going to see the C's part right here for Dylan Jones. Zachary Lima goes low. Kevin Fraze goes high. Now he goes back to the bottom in front of Dylan Jones. Zachary Lima had to drop low. He saw that his teammate Steve Korosek was going to fall back. And I'm telling you, the games that these guys can play with the rest of the field makes it so difficult for anybody else to even have a chance at passing them. As the third lane continues to try to get some momentum, but now we see Zachary Lima. He moves back up to the middle to block Kevin Fraze and give his teammates some fresh air and the lead on the bottom. And I think part of that, Jason Maines not able to get up to his bumper just yet, is allowing Kevin Fraze to get a shot at maybe dropping low, blocking Steve Korosek and getting a push to try to get out in front of Zachary Lima in the 12. Now Lima is going to drop back down low. That's a risky maneuver, but he is going to take it for his teammate. Jason Maines, Steve Korosek creeping up to the back, but it's going to be too little too late. The 25, Kevin Fraze, is clear if he wants it. And he's trying to bring Dylan Jones with him. The 23 isn't quite going to be able to get clear. Does the 25 think about dropping low? Jeff Merck still hangs up top with Matthew Baker. 34, Michael Triscaro. I'm just noticing here in the background. I mean, I've noticed it earlier, but you see he's got pretty significant damage on his hood. You got to think he may not be all that fast if he gets out in the lead. Seems to not be hurt and is handling too bad here in the pack. Continues to push. Mark Vondell up 10 spots, up to 14th. He's trying to get in the mix on this battle. So you have 3 cars still hanging around out back as we are slowly approaching the final 10 laps here at Talladega. 12 to go right now. It's going to be 11 next time. Zachary Lima, Steve Korosek. Just when you think maybe they were about to get shuffled back a handful of positions, nobody goes low. They get linked up, and they are back out in front. That looks like Christopher McCall further ahead. I think he did use his fast pair. Unfortunately, though, he's going to be in danger now of going that second lap down. Yep, sure enough, he has taken the fast pair. Right now, it is 21 cars on the lead lap. It looks like we had 2 guys that were a lap down. 1 or 2 guys that were a lap down. I believe it's 2. Yep, sure enough, Danny Barnes, Christopher McCall. Sean Hill is 2 laps down, and Christopher McCall is getting ready to go 2 laps down. And that is going to really hurt Sean Hill's chances of getting a lucky dog here. I just don't think we're going to have enough laps, enough time, even if we were to get a caution for him to get back up here with a chance at it. And they are 3x3, so unless Christopher McCall chooses to get out of the way, they are going to go 4x4. I think the 94 is maybe thinking about going low. No, he is going to stay high. All right, here we go. Down the back, 4x4. John Ellis Jr. in front. He gets clear of Kevin Fraze, and he is going to drop all the way to the bottom. Christopher McCall trying to keep it as high up as he can. The 60 of Jeff Merck back to the lead on the top. John Ellis Jr. went all the way to the bottom. And, you know, that's a risky maneuver, but I think I like it here because by blocking some of these Dale Cup guys, it's going to make their job a lot harder to get a chance at, you know, getting clear and maybe spreading themselves out among the lanes. It would sure help if they had their third teammate, Cody Nagels, but Cody was having some internet issues and had to fall back. He is currently running outside the pack, and in fact, you can see it right here on your track map. They are back in 21st, and Sean Hill, who's currently last, is running with Cody Nagels. But up front, Zachary Lima, just as quick as they fall out of it, they have found a way to get back to the lead here. Steve Korosek behind the 21. He wasn't able to go with his teammate. Now we see a push from the pusher. That looked like Curtis Rogers maybe got a little too antsy there. Steve Korosek somehow held on to it. But he has to get out of the throttle, and that is going to hurt this inside line. Zachary Lima, does he think about dropping low? Kevin Fraze goes up top. Jason Maines has not had a chance at the lead just yet, but he continues to get closer and closer. He is trying each lane. Michael Triscaro, Brandon Broadfoot get a little bottled up. 9 laps to go at Talladega. Curtis Rogers still not back up to Steve Korosek. This is really hurting the momentum of that inside line. John Ellis Jr. right now is saying, where is my help? I need a push, guys. Still hanging side by side down the backstretch. John Ellis Jr. finally starting to recover. He is starting to get a little bit of momentum going his way. But winding down on the end of this thing, and all those guys that were sitting back are starting to creep back up, and they are ready to go. I think maybe you should just stay back at this point, but they are not content to. Now John Ellis Jr. jumps up to the middle in front of Kevin Fraze. Steve Korsak on the bottom with Curtis Rogers. And if Zachary Lima could get clear in front of Steve, that would put that power combo back to the lead on the bottom. But Steve is probably going to have to get out of the throttle. Doesn't look to be the case. He side drafts. Now he does. And here we go. Zachary Lima drops back down to the bottom. And those two are going to get back linked up. Jeff Merck tries to side draft Kevin Fraze. Dylan Jones, Jason Maines. Do they think about trying to force their way in a fourth lane? Kevin Fraze still sticking on John Ellis Jr.'s bumper. Here comes Jeff Merck and Matthew Baker again. Take a ride on board here with the gearbox of one of these guys. And sorry, just as we were getting ready to go to break there, I do apologize for not really announcing the wreck. We were just getting ready to get an interview actually from one of your Dale Cup drivers in race, but you saw they all piled up out back, and it looked like it collected quite a few of them. We saw at least one, if not two, upside down. Let's go take a look at it. See what happens here. This is off turn 4. Ooh, wow, this is going to start further up. Looks like Jeff Merck was one of the drivers involved. He may have been the driver that I saw get upside down. And it has already happened at this point. Oh my goodness, the 23 of Dylan Jones. Yeah, that 60 of Jeff Merck got absolutely tagged. Goes for some pretty wild flips there before he lands back on all fours. So let's get a different view of this. See if we can figure out exactly how this starts. And is this just going to be a little bit of a bad push? Ooh, a little hard. It's what it initially looks like, doesn't it? Looks like it maybe just got a little bit loose from the push. Matthew Baker, the tires were starting to wear out. With that wind, yeah, that little bit of a push from Matthew Baker, maybe just ever so slightly offset, just sends Merck down the track just a little bit. But once he gets in the 21, it's on from there, back up the track, and then it's just going to start collecting all these guys. The 5, the 65, the 21, the 45. Eddie Hawks gets into his teammate Jason Maines, nowhere to go. Michael Triscaro, it looks like he is trying to sneak through. He's going to get some damage. Brandon Broadfoot went under Jeff Merck. Oh my goodness, that is going to be a pretty interesting view that we will have to take a look at. And then here you go, Jeff Merck flipping pretty wildly. And they are still getting collected further back. Looks like Jacob Emery may have had some contact as he's sliding through the grass. So that is going to collect a handful plus a couple more. Let's take a couple more views of it here. And we will ride on board now with Jeff Merck. You see he's already flipping right here, but let's go for the start of this thing. And there's that pretty wild ride that we were talking about that did destroy the 60 car. Now I want to ride on board with one more driver here, and that is Brandon Broadfoot, as he also went for a pretty wild ride. Not sure if he made contact, but he went up and under the 60. You see Dylan Jones also got airborne. Oh my goodness, that is one of the wildest things that I've ever seen. Are you kidding me? Watch this in slow motion. I don't know how he did not hit Jeff Merck. Holy moly, you see the debris already flying, but watch this, ladies and gentlemen. Watch this. Gets pinned up. Are you kidding me? I think he did make slight contact, but it's like it hit the front windshield. Doesn't look like he got any damage, but I mean, can you imagine what he was probably thinking right here? One more shot of this. Oh my goodness. He gets pinned up in the air just before, and that saves him as it almost ramps Jeff Merck. That is absurd to me. I have never seen something like that. And it's going to help him out, though. He's going to have a chance now potentially going for a win in this thing because of that. Your top 5 as it runs right now: Zachary Lima first, Steve Korsak second, Kevin Fraze third, Curtis Rogers fourth, and Brandon Broadfoot rounding out the top 5. How about Mark Vondell up 18 spots from where he started in 6th, sitting just outside the money. Tony Cox in 7th. That strategy playing well so far for the 72. We'll see if he can get himself a good finish. Cody Nagel's back up to 8th. Hopefully his internet has fixed itself. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it has just yet. Eddie Hawks in 9th and J.R. Miller rounding out the top 10 in the Team PGR Blaster machine. And we should be getting the 1 to go signal this time, at least we hope so. So we will take our second and last break before we go green for what is going to be looking like a 5-lap shootout. We'll go Ghost Racing Network side by side. Stick with us. And we are back live here at Talladega Superspeedway, closing in on the end of race 8 for Tuesday Night Thunder. In fact, it is going to be a 4-lap to go shootout. We're going to get a quick word here with your current leader, Zachary Lima, before we get back to green. Zachary, you got a copy? Well, actually, let me unmute you here. I guess that would make it a lot easier. But anyway, you're leading the way here. You got your teammate to your outside. What's the game plan here?
The game plan is to try to control as much as possible and then get hooked up for the end.
Well, I mean, we see some really strong guys behind you, such as Kevin Fraze. I mean, it did shuffle some of the big hitters out of it with that wreck, but you're going to have to try to do any blocking here, or do you just jump up as quick as you can and get with your teammate?
Maybe whatever it takes to stay at the front. So, you know, hopefully me and Steve can get it done.
All right, well, good luck. Here we go. Final restart. Thank you.
Do not come.
Thanks, man.
And there we go. That was Zachary Lima currently leading the way. Here we go for the final time. Green flag is back in the air. And it looks like the 12 is clear for now of his teammate Steve Korosek, but he continues to stay on the bottom. Steve has no help. Now they're going to line up, and if they can both get clear of the 25, this could be all they needed. It's really, really close right now. And it looks like the 25 of Kevin Fraze is actually going to jump up behind further back. Some of them are in the wall. Can they all hold on to it? They are 4 wide. Everybody is mixing it up, trying to get everything they can. And this is what happens when you put some of the big hitters in the back. Now we see the 78 go around. J.R. Miller looks like his teammate Michael Triscaro's in it as well. That's Jacob Emery in the 26. No caution. Up here they keep it green. Tony Cox trying to make up spots. Cody Nagel still hanging around towards the back. Or sorry, in the middle of the pack rather. But Zachary Lima and Steve Korosek looking pretty strong up front. Mark Vondell, first car on the bottom, getting a push from his teammate Eddie Hawks and David Sheets. So now it's going to be McCall Motorsports versus Dale Cup up top. Jason Main, John Ellis Jr. Those are a couple more teammates. 3 to go. Remember, if we take the white flag, that is going to end the race. So we did have a couple things. Looks like Baker's mom said does damage in the rear affect your driving. Not really, as long as it's nothing too severe. It can actually be pretty severe, and it usually does not affect these cars. You see quite a few of these guys with some rear end damage, and they are still running at speed. David Sheets got a little bit of a bump from Dylan Jones, but he holds on. Lonnie Rogers says, come on, Curtis Rogers. Curtis Rogers right now sitting a little bit further back here in 16th. He is still up here. He's got a little bit of work to catch this main pack, but he might be trying to avoid a potential wreck. And if they're going to wreck, they're going to have to do it this time around because it is 2 laps to go at Talladega. Mark Vondell on the bottom, Zachary Lima in the middle. Now we're going to see our first 4th lane attempt of the night. Matthew Baker on top, Danny Esselman, the 3rd lane, the middle lane, Oh, they almost cut into the wall. They weren't quite able to make it work. Looks like Danny maybe cut that off, but they are not done. They will get to that 4th lane again if they have to. Danny Elfman's trying not to leave it open, but, I mean, there's not much he can do here. Matthew Baker continues to try to squeeze his way to the outside of it. Nothing there. Mark Fondell still leading the bottom, but Zachary Lima seems to be the one that's keeping his nose out in front. Kevin Freeze, Cody Nagels, what do they do here? John Ellis Jr. is trying to jump out in front of Lima. He gets turned. They're back into the middle of the pack. This is going to cause another wreck. Caution is out. A couple guys hitting big here. Mark Fondell, Curtis Rogers, Brandon Broadfoot. Sean Hill arrives on the scene. And I could not initially tell what happened there. I mean, obviously we saw somebody get turned around. John Ellis Jr. was, but may have been a little bit of a late block. We'll have to look at replay before we can tell. So let's go back and do it. But this wreck collected a bunch of guys, and some of them did not have faster pairs anymore. And this is really going to hurt them. We saw this start up front. Let's go to the chopper view where we can get the best look at it. So you see he's already kind of turned around at this point. This starts further back, though. So let's go to where it's going to start here. This was just after he made the move from the top, John Ellis Jr., and he's going to try to get to the bottom here. And Steve Korsak on the bumper of Zachary Lima. And you see Lima's getting out of the throttle now. That's what the backfire out of the pipes was. He was not trying to get the 21 turn, but just, man, that's a tough one. I'll tell you what, I don't even really know exactly what you want to call it. I mean, you know, you could argue maybe it was a little bit of a late block. I mean, just ever so slightly, but it looks like he's kind of there. Maybe hesitates a little bit, though. Yeah, I think that's actually what it is here. Watch this. Let's go back one more time. I think John Ellis Jr. is clear here, but he almost hesitates just a little bit. And maybe he thought he wasn't. And right there, he's going to do a little bit of a hesitation right there. He hangs there. Lima maybe trying to get him behind him. Not sure, but gets into the left rear. He got out of the throttle, but it just wasn't quite enough. And the 21 gets turned around, and it is on from here. It looks like Jason Maines could not quite sneak by. There's the 12, the 6 up into the wall, and then they just start wrecking hard after this. Danny Escherman, pretty wild ride. Lima back down into his teammate Cody Nagels. Looks like Tony Cox was not quite able to escape this one, although from that view I don't see a ton of damage. Just looks like he is mostly spinning, and then further back is where we saw guys taking some bigger hits, some harder shots, if you will. Curtis Rogers, that thing is destroyed. Let's take a couple more views of it here. This is from Curtis Rogers' view. Oh, you see he was trying to get checked up, just could not quite do it in time. Let's go up here and look at John Ellis Jr. now. And there's the initial contact. He goes back up here. Oh man, Christopher McCall almost got by it as well. Tore up a lot of good cars in this one. Let's take one more ride now with Tony Cox on the on-board camera. Here we go. Go back a little bit farther here, actually. Oh, and actually, Tony, it almost looks like it net-coded out a little bit, doesn't it? So maybe Tony got lucky off of this. Although I do, ooh, that secondary hit might do it, actually. I take it back. That is David Sheets, who's also spinning in the wreck. And Baker's mom says, or netcode. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think that it was netcode because I did see some contact. We'll do this one more time, real slow here. Nobody doing anything of ill intent right here. Nobody trying anything. Just two guys just really, really close, making ever so slight contact here. See if we can get a good shot from this angle. I don't really like that view. Let's see, does the blimp? No, the blimp doesn't show us. Watch there. I mean, you see the 12 Zachary Lima. Ever so slight contact. Taking a look at the right front here of Lima. And actually, let's go to the right front of Lima, rather. And this will be our final view of this way. And, I mean, yeah, you see it here. Just watch the slight contact here. Right there. Just ever so slight. But that's how dicey these things can be in the corner. And I think if there wasn't a car on the bottom, John Ellis Jr. maybe holds on. Looks like we did have someone say that Danny Barnes may have had a near miss. So we will certainly go right on board with Danny and see if that is the case. Danny Barnes is currently, see where Danny is. He's currently up in 6th. So that makes me think maybe he did not have damage and maybe he did sneak through it. So let's watch it here. Sometimes it's hard to catch everything that goes on in these wrecks during the replay. And this is from the driver of the 3. Oh, he just got tagged there at the end. Either way, heck of a job by the 3 here. See, is he going to hold on to it again? Oh, my goodness. So Danny Barnes did get tagged in the rear, but all in all, heck of a save. And I don't think that damage is going to be too bad. Let's take a look right after he got it here. Should only be in the... You see a little bit there actually on the left side. None on the front, really. So he may have stayed out from that. That was a pretty good near miss there from Danny Barnes. Heck of a job not giving up on driving that thing. Now let's go back live now up front where guys have taken their fast pairs. They have got sorted out. And we are going to be going back to green this time for our first attempt at overtime here. Tuesday Night Thunder tonight. Leading the way is going to be Jason Maines second, Steve Korsak, Matthew Baker third, Eddie Hawks fourth, and Dylan Jones, the last driver in the money spot, in fifth. This is definitely broken up the Dale Cup teammates, though. Jason Maines is out in front for the first time here tonight, and he is one of the best at finishing this thing off if we do go green the rest of the way. Of course, if we do get a caution on that first lap, then we will rack them up and try it again. But if we take the white flag, then this thing will be official, whether they wreck on the white flag or not. Matthew Baker pushing Jason Maines. Those two are not teammates anymore. If it is in Baker's best interest, you got to think maybe he continues to push Jason. But if he gets an opening, you got to think he maybe takes it. That opens it up to Dylan Jones, who I think might stick behind and push Jason. But we are about to find out. 2 laps to go at Talladega. Whichever line lines up better usually wins. That was one of the sayings from Jeff Gordon back when he had raced at tracks such as Daytona. In reference to the green-white checkers. We thank everybody for coming out. You are watching Tuesday Night Thunder for Ron Morris Money Racing Race 8. Closing in on a championship race. Only just under a handful left. Jason Maines, wow, has some pretty significant rear end damage. Normally it doesn't affect guys, but at that stage, maybe. Here we go. Let's find out. Into the Geico restart zone. The 5-car throttles up. We are back green at Talladega. Jason got a pretty good start. Steve Korsak's hanging with him. Gotta think this is going to be a really hard push, though, here for Matthew Baker. He is probably not sure what to really push on right now. Let's show you that cockpit view, in fact, real quick. As everybody is still getting up to speed, we see 3 wide further back. I mean, look at the back bumper here. Jason Maines, he is trying to push. That car is not looking like it wants to be pushed. And now he's going to jump up top. Can he get some help here? He is from Steve Korsak. Dylan Jones on the bottom, still trying to push Jason Maines. And they are side by side down the back. Matthew Baker gets clear. Does he continue to stay high? It looks like he does. He's trying to bring his tandem partner of Steve Korsak with him. Steve is clear. Do they want to drop down now? They continue to stay high for the moment out of turn 4. We will be taking the white flag this time further back. Now Zachary Lima and his teammate Cody Nagels up top. They have a big run. On the bottom, Jason Maines starting to continue to fade. And now it looks like Kevin Fraze is going to jump to the bottom one more time around Talladega. Here we go. Lima still hanging up top. He now takes the lead. Matthew Baker in the middle with Steve Korsak. Kevin Fraze on the bottom looking for some help. Oh, Cody Nagels. He is up into the wall. Matthew Baker up and over. Flips out of turn 2. That collects a couple, but up front they're still racing. More collected. Wow, huge wreck out back. The 94 Christopher McCall. Now it's a battle between Dale Cup and anyone else. Looks like Zachary Lima, Steve Korsak have found each other. Kevin Fraze, John Ellis Jr. are going to try to work together. Does Lima go to the bottom? No, he's going to stick to that middle line. And the bottom seems to have the momentum right now. Steve Korsak geared up for one more big push to his teammate. Danny Barnes up top. It doesn't look like he's got a chance at it. This is going to be a drag race into the tri-oval for the final time, side by side. The outside now has the momentum. It's going to be a photo finish. Zachary Lima wins it at Talladega. Steve Korsak comes home third. Pushed his teammate to a win, though, in a thriller with a heck of a wreck on the backstretch. And make sure you stay tuned at least for this right here. These two, Korsak and Lima, that is, we are going to see some of the best burnouts you'll ever see in iRacing right here. They call it, I believe they call it, oh man, I just remembered the name earlier. I don't know if I forgot, but they're pretty much going to do a burnout. They're going to turn around here, do a J-turn. Oh, rollback, that's what it is. And they call this the rollback burnouts. And this is something that I promise you, you will not see anybody else doing here. And here we go. 12 does have some damage. If Kevin Fraze doesn't turn him here, that is. Give him a little victory bump there. And here we go. Zachary Lima is going to roll it back and burn it down. Gets that thing all the way to a stop. And there's his teammate, Steve Korsak, who is going to do one with him now. And they will burn it down. They know what they just did. They got themselves another top 3 finish, both of them. That is a win for Dale Cup. We will be getting interviews from at least Lima and Steve Korsak because I know where I can find them if they don't show up. Looks like Kevin Frazo has hopped in. So we will drag him in here and get an interview in just a second. And I guess we will go start here with the 2 Dale Cup drivers as Lima continues to burn it down. So we will be right back. And we are here with your top 3. Let's start with 3rd place finisher Steve Korsak. Steve, you got a copy?
I got you.
Well, you pushed your teammate to a win. You bring home 3rd place. How's it feel?
Feels good. We got it done. I was glad I could help Lima get the win there. It was a really good race. It was 3 wide the whole time, and we're constantly swapping positions. It's the kind of racing we like.
Well, I mean, there was a big wreck on that last lap. We come back up front after the big wreck, and there you 2 were lined up. I mean, did that wreck help you guys out?
Can't really say for sure or not, but I'm just glad that we made it through.
All right. Well, either way, congrats on the 3rd place finish. And before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, shout out to Ghost Racing Network, put on the broadcast. Shout out to the RMR, putting on the league. And shout out to Dale Cup and all the drivers in here. It's a good time.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Your 3rd place finisher, Steve Korsak, in the 27 car. Now we will move on to 2nd place finisher, Kevin Fraze. Kevin, you got a copy?
Yeah, Austin, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I mean, you got 2nd. I feel like maybe it looked like you had a chance there first towards the end. I mean, what more did you really need there?
Just needed another car, some help on the bottom there, I think, on the last lap after all that chaos and holy netcode. That happened. If we had a 3rd and if John wasn't damaged, maybe we would have had a shot there. But the outside just has a little bit more momentum off that corner, so it's an uphill battle.
Well, either way, I mean, you bring home 2nd, you finish on the podium. Seems like a pretty good night overall. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out tonight?
Yeah, I got to thank the guys tonight that I was running with Jay, John, and Dylan out there. It was and all the drivers. I mean, that was a fun race. Temperatures were a huge problem because the cars were getting so hot, so we were all mixing it up. When you get too hot, you just try and find any way to cool it down. So it was a fun battle tonight.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to us. Before we let you go, is there anyone else you would like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I got to thank you, of course, being the broadcaster. I mean, you're the one putting on the show for us.
Thank you. Give me 1 second here, Kevin. Hold on. And I will be right back, guys. And I do apologize, folks. I lost my train of thought for some reason. I realized I asked Kevin twice, so hopefully he's not too upset. All right, thanks for talking to us, Kevin.
No problem.
All right, and let's talk to your winner now, Zachary Lima. Lima, you got a copy?
Yeah, man, I got a copy.
All right. Well, no one really cares that you won. We just want to care about the burnout. No, I'm just kidding. First of all, tell us how you got it done there at the end.
Yeah, man. Unfortunate there was a wreck last lap. Made it kind of easier for me and Steve. But we were hooked up most of the race and got it done. It was a hard one because Cody had lagged out and didn't really have 3 up there. So it was pretty hard middle of the race, but we ended up getting it done. So yeah.
Well, sure enough, you guys got it done, and you put on a heck of a burnout show after. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out? And I will only ask you once.
Yeah, man, I just got to thank out Dale Cup, the team. Got to thank RMR for putting it on, and you for the broadcast, Austin. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That is your winner tonight, Zachary Lima in the 12 car. And I'll tell you what, well, I guess first let's take a look at the results, and then we've got to take a look at that last lap wreck where I saw a couple guys go up to outer space. So bringing home first tonight, the man we just talked to, Zachary Lima. Second, Kevin Fraze. Third, Steve Korosek. Fourth, John Ellis Jr. Fifth, Danny Barnes. Sixth is going to be Jason Main. Seventh, Danny Eshelman. Eighth, Jacob Emery. Ninth, Michael Triscaro. 10th, Brandon Broadfoot. 11th, Tony Cox. 12th, Eddie Hawks. 13th, J.R. Miller. 14th, Mark Von Dell. Matthew Baker, 15th. Cody Nagel, 16th. Dylan Jones, 17th. And Curtis Rogers, 18th. Moving back to 19th, Sean Hill, 20th. Christopher McCall, 21st. Jeff Merck, 22nd. David Sheets, 23rd. Mike Davenport, 24th. Ron Morris Jr. rounding out the field with that 24th car. Let's look at this last lap. I mean, this was pretty wild stuff here. Going back to it. Get this out of the way. Let's go from the start of this thing, and we just mainly wanted to take a look at the wreck here. And then, so right at this point, you see it's Lima and Cody up top. Steve and Lima were not quite lined up just yet. And something is going to go all wrong here in turn one. And it looks like, ooh, I think this might be netcode from what it's looking like. And the story of the night. Play it nice and slow. Watch the 6 and the 5 of Matthew Baker. I think that's where the netcode is going to occur. Oh, man. Huge netcode off the 6. I'm not even sure which car that was off of. Brutal. I mean, look at this. I mean, wow. Just completely spins Cody Nagels out from it. And it looks like it was in his right rear, or left rear rather, is where the netcode came from. And once that spins him out, the rest of the field is going to get involved in this as they just had nowhere to go. Matthew Baker goes up and over, lands back on all 4, though. Cody Nagels. I think somebody else is going to come along and take a pretty big hit here as well. Yeah, Christopher McCall, watch the 94. Coming barrel in, and I mean, at this point, these guys are no lift. They're trying to just get through the wreck, pick up as many spots as they can. And Christopher McCall ramps off, gets up into the catch fence. And this is where I think the game is going to shoot him way up in the air. Rolling pretty wildly down the catch fence before he gets thrown back out of it. Goes bouncing up and down. Let's take a ride on board here with Christopher McCall, as that was a pretty gnarly ride. Back this up a little bit. Go to the cockpit view. He's already flipped up at this point. I mean, usually when the game puts you in the catch fence, it stops you there. Not the case. Watch this. And you hear Chris, as a true super speedway racer would, never let out of it, even as he was still in the air and in the catch fence, hoping maybe that car would land back on all 4. Unfortunately, it did not. That is going to wrap us up, though, for tonight. Zachary Lima brings it home in a photo finish over Kevin Fraze, and the margin of victory was what it looks like 0.03 of a second, so not by much. Next place, Ghost Racing Network will stop Saturday over at the NOMA Truck Series. We will have more info as the week goes on in that. Don't miss out. We thank everybody for coming out. I hope you did enjoy, and I will see you next time.